San Diego Global Knowledge University.
Introduction. Welcome to this session, where we'll bring together the key things to understand how ideas are made, accepted, and managed in a world that's always changing and full of surprises. In this part, we'll look at important ideas like critical mass, the tipping point for ideas catching on, how teamwork networks help, the cultural and company hurdles, and the smart ways that spread knowledge. We'll also talk about how important it is to keep learning and build global skills to make good choices when things are complicated. This journey will help us see that changing an organization isn't just about new ideas, but about being able to manage them well within systems that are all connected. Today's global environment is marked by constant change and also by big shifts that really change how organizations and communities work. In this situation, old ways of managing just aren't enough. We need to work together to quickly move towards new ways of thinking about how organizations operate. These new strategies are built on creating strong networks for teamwork and developing skills that help us adjust to complicated and connected situations. One key idea to understand this process is discontinuity. Unlike slow, steady changes, discontinuity means big breaks that change structures, practices, and how things are done. These changes are driven by strong global forces, where technology, money, and social factors all mix together, creating a very unpredictable environment. In this situation, organizations don't just need to adapt. They also need to see these changes coming and manage them smartly. The adoption of new ideas and technologies within organizations doesn't happen automatically. Various studies have shown that their spread depends on a critical mass of individuals adopting these innovations. This phenomenon, known as a tipping point, occurs when enough members of an organizational system embrace a new practice or way of thinking, creating a multiplying effect that helps it spread. This critical mass acts like a power source within the organizational system. As more individuals adopt an innovation, it becomes more likely that others will join in, speeding up the change process. This behavior is similar to organic systems, where certain levels of activation allow processes to expand steadily. In organizational terms, this means that change strategies should focus on finding and engaging key players who can drive this initial adoption. Sustainable networks play a key role in this process. These networks allow constant interaction between people and organizations, making it easier to share knowledge, work together, and spread new ideas. In a global world where borders matter less and less, networks become essential for creating value and adapting to change. But putting these plans into action runs into different problems. These include cultural resistance, differences in how competitive things are, and structural limits within organizations. These problems can slow down or even stop new ideas from being adopted, which means we need special plans to deal with them. One of the most important parts of this whole thing is what early adopters and decision makers do. These folks can really push new ideas forward, acting like sparks that get things going. Their involvement is super important to get enough people on board and to make new ways of doing things seem normal within the company. The proof shows that there's a certain point where a new idea needs to be adopted by enough people for it to really spread. Usually, when about 10% of the people in a group try a new idea, that's enough to get it started. As more people join in, it spreads even faster, reaching more and more people in less time. This approach directly affects how we develop our people. Training and development programs need to be set up to build a strong team, encouraging everyone to learn global skills and how to work well together. Also, we need to create a company culture that values new ideas, always learning, and being open to change. In a world where things are constantly changing, keeping the organization running smoothly becomes a big challenge. Companies need to be able to keep their work going, while also being able to adjust to new things all the time. This means managing risks, thinking ahead about what might happen, and building strong systems that can handle uncertainty. So moving to a new way of organizing things needs a big picture view. It means putting together group plans, working with others, and building up skills. It's not just about using new tech or ways of doing things, but really changing how organizations think, work together, and create value. All in all, these things show that doing well globally depends on how well organizations can handle change in a smart way. Building strong connections, getting enough people involved, and encouraging new ideas are super important for adapting well in a world that's always changing and super complex. Today's world is always changing. This often causes big shifts in how organizations and communities work. In this kind of world, just doing things well isn't enough. We need to think globally. This means not just surviving, but really doing well. Thinking globally means understanding that what we do in our local area affects bigger systems. These systems are all connected through teamwork. But just thinking globally isn't enough on its own. To really make a lasting difference, it needs strong teamwork networks. These networks help good ideas and ways of doing things spread. They act like a framework that lets people share what they know and make changes. This creates a good environment for new ideas and for adjusting to new things. So, changes in an organization don't happen alone. They happen when everyone works together and talks to each other all the time. A key idea to grasp these processes is critical mass. For new ideas to be accepted in a group or community, enough people need to adopt them. Once this number is reached, it creates a ripple effect that helps the change spread. This turning point, called the tipping point, is when an idea goes from being small to becoming widely accepted within the system. Critical mass can be thought of as a kind of energy that drives change. For an idea to spread, it needs not only enough support, but also an initial push to get it going. This push, similar to the activation energy in science, helps the idea overcome early resistance and stay active within the system. Without this energy, even great ideas can get stuck. Besides critical mass, the value of the idea itself is super important. For an innovation to be adopted, it needs to offer real benefits to those who use it. These benefits could be things like saving money, working better, getting an edge over others, or making life better. How people see this value is a big factor in whether they decide to accept or reject an idea. The way ideas spread can also lead to bad outcomes if not handled well. History shows that choices that seem good at first can have bad effects when they're put into action everywhere without thinking about how they'll affect everything else. This happens when an idea becomes really popular and is put into practice without really looking at what it means. This can cause things to get out of balance or even make whole systems fall apart. This shows how important it is to understand how change and sticking together are connected. Sticking together is what keeps systems from falling apart, whether they are groups of people, companies, or nature. When change happens too fast or without control, it can make things fall apart and stop working smoothly. But if change is managed well, it can make things stronger and better able to handle problems and adapt. Discontinuity, which means losing connection or flow, is one of the biggest challenges in our world today. It can happen all at once, like with big, sudden problems, or slowly over time, as small changes build up and throw things off balance. Either way, companies need to learn how to see these changes coming, deal with them, and adjust. Dealing with discontinuity means you need a mix of knowledge, skills, and abilities. You have to understand how the world works, spot new trends, and come up with plans that actually work. This isn't just about changing with the times, but also about shaping them, creating good situations for your organization to grow. In all of this, the leaders and key players are super important. They're the ones who can push for new ideas, get resources moving, and help different teams work together. How well they can find new chances, handle risks, and encourage new ways of thinking is key to making change strategies successful. All these things together help us understand that changing a company in today's world isn't just about trying new ideas. It's about being able to handle those ideas within really complicated systems. Building strong networks, getting enough people on board, and dealing with changes properly are super important for making real and lasting change happen. The process of adopting ideas in companies and social groups is really affected by things that mix numbers, feelings, and what's happening around them. Different studies have shown that you don't need most people to make a big change. Actually, when about 10% of people strongly believe in something and are committed to it, it can start a change that affects everyone else. This shows that ideas don't just spread because of how many people believe them, but also how committed they are and how much influence certain people in a group have. This discovery has important strategic implications. First, it means that ideas that seem to be held by a small group can actually become widely accepted if enough people adopt them. Second, it suggests that spreading ideas can be planned on purpose by using strategies that find and get key people in a company or community involved. So, adopting ideas stops being a random thing and becomes something you can manage. For an idea to reach this level of adoption, it needs to have certain features. It's super important that it has merit, meaning it brings real value to the people who use it. Also, the changemakers need to show true dedication, so the idea doesn't seem like just a surface level or theoretical suggestion. It's also necessary for the people who are influenced to see the idea's value and be ready to share it with their friends and connections, acting like hubs that help it spread. Finally, how much people interact within the group is a key factor, because places with more connections help ideas spread faster. These elements match up with the idea of a tipping point, which is when an idea gets enough people to adopt it that it starts spreading really fast. This turning point depends on three main things: how much certain key people in the network influence others, how well the idea stays important and easy to remember, and the conditions of the environment where it's introduced. How these things work together decides how fast and how far the idea spreads. But getting new ideas adopted isn't always easy. One big thing that can make it hard is culture. Different cultures change how people understand, accept, or say no to new ideas. Things like trust, how decisions are made, and what convinces people are different everywhere. This can make it tough for ideas to spread. Still, with everyone being more connected globally, we have ways to get past these differences, as long as we really understand how different cultures work. Another key thing is how much data is used to make decisions. In many places, new ideas only get picked up if they make financial sense and if there's proof they'll work. Questions about how much money you'll make, the risks, and how much you'll get back from your investment can either slow down or speed up an idea. While this way of thinking is really strict, it can also stop new ideas from happening if it's used too much or too strictly. So, innovation faces another challenge: uncertainty. No model or analysis can fully predict what will happen with a new idea. That's why making decisions needs both smart thinking and gut feelings. Being able to take smart risks and act even when you don't have all the information is super important for making new things happen. Working together is another super important part of getting ideas accepted. It's not just about meeting people, but about building strong, lasting relationships that help everyone share what they know and support each other. The proof shows that successfully putting ideas into action is directly linked to how good and how many people are working together, both inside and outside the group. These collaboration networks act like pathways that make ideas reach further and make them seem more real and important. In this situation, strategy acts like a glue that brings all these things together. Making a good strategy means understanding the culture, using information the right way, handling new ideas, and encouraging teamwork. Each of these parts is more or less important depending on the kind of idea and where it's being used, so you need to be flexible and able to change. Additionally, it's important to recognize the limitations of so-called influencers or early adopters. While these players can generate initial visibility, their impact doesn't guarantee widespread adoption. Relying solely on them can create a skewed perception of an idea's potential. Therefore, it's necessary to complement their involvement with broader strategies that include various dissemination mechanisms. Decision-making also plays a crucial role in this process. Developing skills like the ability to anticipate changes, qualitatively evaluate options, and build credibility is fundamental to driving the adoption of ideas. Credibility, in particular, is a determining factor, as ideas are only adopted when those who promote them build trust. All in all, these things show that getting new ideas adopted is a tricky process. It needs a mix of smart planning, good understanding, and action. It's not enough to just come up with cool new ideas. You also need to manage how they spread, get past any problems, and create the right conditions for them to stick. Companies that can put all these pieces together will be much better at making changes and keeping up in a fast-moving and competitive world. Managing organizational change in a global setting means understanding that new ideas aren't just adopted because they're good. It also depends on how well systems can take them in and spread them effectively. In this situation, learning and continuous improvement become super important. They help people and organizations get better at what they do and adjust to a world that's always changing. Building global skills isn't just about learning technical stuff. It's also about bringing together analytical skills, critical thinking, and understanding different cultures. These things are key to really understanding changes around us and making smart decisions. So, ongoing training becomes a main way to stay competitive and important as an organization. Also, creating and sharing knowledge needs structures that make it easy to get reliable and up-to-date information. Organizational learning systems should encourage looking at expert sources, reviewing past experiences, and using best practices. This process makes organizations better at handling tough challenges and taking advantage of new opportunities. Because of this, creating knowledge and collaboration networks is super important. These networks connect people and organizations in different places, helping them share ideas and build solutions together. Being active in these networks helps broaden your global view and makes decision-making much better. Another important thing is how important it is to keep learning. Learning shouldn't be seen as a one-time thing, but as something that keeps going and changes as the world around us changes. Always updating what we know and what we're good at helps companies stay current with global trends and react quickly to changes. Also, managing knowledge means respecting intellectual property and being ethical when using information. Using resources correctly and giving credit where it's due are key to making sure learning and sharing knowledge are done with integrity. All in all, these things show that being competitive in the global world isn't just about coming up with ideas. It's about being good at managing them, sharing them, and turning them into useful knowledge. Building networks, always learning, and using information smartly are becoming super important for companies to grow in a world that's always changing. Conclusion. The analysis shows that bringing new ideas into companies and communities is a step-by-step process that needs a plan, knowledge, and action. To get a lot of people to accept an idea, understand the culture, handle information well, and work together are super important for an idea to really take off and stick around. Also, it's clear that new ideas don't just happen by themselves. They grow within groups that can either help them or hold them back. Being able to make smart choices, using both facts and gut feelings, is key to making changes happen. Lastly, companies that keep learning and sharing what they know will be better ready to change, compete, and create value in today's fast-paced and tough global world.
San Diego Global Knowledge University, Education Beyond Boundaries.